enough.
Dear Mr. Massa, I'm just trying to mind my own business. What's the matter? It's just another day, another black king captured. I'm about to lose my brain, stuck inside this ghetto rapture. I got a lot of smoke. If you want it, you can have it. They want a hat trick, but this is black girl magic. Ain't talking about the kind that'll make you disappear, but I'm talking about the power of the melanin within. Ain't looking for trouble, but I'ma say this one time. I put 2 dukes up if you try to touch mine. We still want justice for Samir and Trayvon. You say you don't see color, but racism ain't blind. They targeting little kids whose skin look just like mine. So I'm paranoid, it's a war zone outside. And I'm a black queen, so if you ask me to step out of my car, you gon' have to snatch me. Cause I ain't going no damn well. Had to spend my whole life living unfair. Ancestors got my back and they right here. You can never understand, it's a nightmare. Living in my black shoes by the black rules. You can keep your handshake, I don't dap coon. The white man will go nuts if he cash you. But you all on his side like a damn fool. Make it make sense.
We are oppressed.
Queen.
We are exploited. We are downtrodden.
Make it make
Queen.
We are
sense.
denied not only civil rights, but even human rights.
Ahmadiyyah.
So the only way we're going to get some of this
Ahmadiyyah.
oppression and exploitation
Queen.
away from us or aside from us is come together
Queen.
against the common enemy. Who taught you to hate the texture of your
Ahmadiyyah.
hair? Who taught you to hate the color of your skin?
Ahmadiyyah.
Parents, pay attention to the books, the school system, even to your little children. Lies mixed with wisdom. His skin too bright, so he was blind to the prison. My skin just right, so I collide with division. You trying to pray to God, but we tired of religion. No savior saving, we got to save our savings. We used to pay miss, how we gon' make the slave rich? But who's to blame and tell me why you complaining? We need a team effort just to rule the nation. Like a bad relationship, missing communication. We missing moderation. They're trying to get a poison to my population. No reparations. I'm getting tired of Satan.
We are oppressed.
Queen.
We are
Tired of
exploited.
waiting.
We are downtrodden.
Queen.
We are denied not only civil rights, but even human rights.
Ahmadiyyah.
We get some of this
Ahmadiyyah.
oppression and exploitation.
All right, Grand Rising, everyone. Thanks for tuning back in once again to the original Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur show. I'm your host, Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur, and this is your morning wake-up call. So as you're coming in, please feel free to go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Be sure to click that notification bell and click the word all so you're notified each time the Queen Goddess goes live. All right, hello, 57 Beige Fox. Juju is in the building. Just Anticipate, Nessie X, Claudette, We the People, Jasmine. All right, let's get into it. Aquarius Rising is here. All right, Christopher Perkins. All right, shout out Buckhorse DC. Shout out to all of my loyal royals and everyone tuned into the Queen. Okay, with that all been said, hey Claudette, hey Leon, hey Ashkan. Okay, Emperor Rex, Political Winds, Mr. Elevation. All right, so that all been said, Roberta on deck. Shout out to all my loyal royals and everyone tuned into the Queen. And a big shout out to my moderators because y'all know they be putting in work. Okay, so let's get into it. Chilly Willie from Philly, I see you, beloved. All right, here we go. Let's get it popping. I see you, Dark too. Okay, so with that all being said, listen. It looks like BB's gotten himself in a bit of a kerfuffle. Okay? It looks like the people want him out of office and in prison where he clearly belongs. Now, we're going to get into it, but before we do, let's go to Colonel McGregor and his report because supposedly 37 soldiers died instantly. Okay, were killed instantly. And Iran's been attacking the U.S. bases again. Bibi's still trying to get rid of Lebanon so he can take it over, or get rid of the Lebanese so he can take over Lebanon. And him and Trump are feuding over it. Okay, so let's get into all the nefariousness. I'm going to share my screen. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Now, I'm going to use an overlay on this.
Was in a very bad spot, and I think it's hard to deny that.
Well, I think there's a lot of evidence that the Israeli Defense Force, at least the ground portion, is effectively imploding. And I think the chief of the Israeli Defense Force has tried to make it clear that they can't continue on the current path. You've got a problem with calling up reservists who won't come, who won't show up. You've got problems with reservists leaving. And you have, I think, also a broader deterioration of discipline. When, we already saw lots of things happen in Gaza, which indicated poor discipline. Now we're seeing some of this in South Lebanon with Israeli soldiers that are looting homes that have been attacked and destroyed in southern Lebanon. When that begins to happen, your army is falling apart. So I think the Israeli army on the ground is in bad shape. I can't speak about the Air Force. The Air Force has always been the principal instrument of aggressive military power for the Israelis, and their pilots are excellent. And I think they have an inexhaustible quantity of spare parts and aircraft. So I'm sure they're in pretty good shape, but you can lose the war quickly regardless of how good your Air Force is if you don't have an army.
Yeah. I've been getting the sense that the influence Netanyahu has over Trump has been diminishing after this Iran war. And I've said it a few times where I think he bit off more than he could chew. We've seen reports today and yesterday and even the day before where Israel announced this new campaign that included the bombing of Beirut. Then Netanyahu had a call with Trump and then nothing happened. They're still bombing the south. They did escalate, but nothing happened in Beirut. And then when you look at the deal in Iran, it's a deal that is catastrophic for Israel and the balance of power in the region. Is it possible that maybe, just maybe, we are starting to see a shift in Trump's approach or the U.S. administration's approach towards Israel, or that's wishful thinking?
Well, let's look at the things that may be influencing President Trump at this point and step away for a minute from the Persian Gulf. The Persian Gulf is an insoluble problem. Let's be frank. Over the last 80 years, we ran into a brick wall, if you will, in Korea. We couldn't make any headway. We couldn't win it. There was no interest in fighting China, thank God. And Eisenhower made the prudent and intelligent decision to leave. He said, no, we're going to negotiate an armistice and we're not going to continue this war. And that's what happened. But we failed in Korea. I think that's very important for people to understand. That was not a victory. And we made the best of a defeat that we could possibly make strategically. Then you go to Vietnam. Vietnam, there was no strategy, just as there is no real strategy now. People that went in there never knew what the hell they were supposed to be doing. They had various vague notions. It was unclear. And what was it? 6 years later, we decided, well, this isn't working. And we began the process of disengaging. And as soon as we got out, everyone agreed we'll never do this again. Well, that didn't turn out to be accurate. But then you had 1991. And 91 was a very different set of circumstances. That was an enemy that was perfectly configured, trained, equipped, and positioned for us to defeat. They met us on our terms. We hit them back on our terms, and we won. And this tremendous victory that very few people at the time thought was possible for reasons I never understood. We then concluded, well, there's no one in the world that can touch us. We are supreme. The Soviet state has collapsed. Everyone else has given up and stacked arms. So it's time to, leverage this strategic power. And we began leveraging it as soon as possible. Not long thereafter, we resumed hostilities with Saddam Hussein when, frankly, there was no reason to do so. Saddam Hussein presented no threat. And quite frankly, Saddam Hussein was always willing to do business with us. He'd have sold us all the oil we want. He'd have cooperated in anything we wanted to do. But it was decided that the path to Israeli dominance was through Baghdad. In fact, Paul Wolfowitz said something along those lines. If you want the path to peace in the Middle East, the path to Jerusalem runs through Baghdad. Well, that made no sense, but everybody bought it, and the rest is history. Then we went into Afghanistan, as you know, and we muddled around there. The key person in NATO. And what's he do? Nothing. He lets it drag on. He lets the intelligence services run wild, run amok, and do whatever they like. I mean, that's one of the reasons that Putin said many, many times, I've met with many presidents, they always end up being unable to change anything. They don't seem to be in charge. Intelligence services run wild, run amok, and do whatever they like. I mean, that's one of the reasons that Putin said many, many times, I've met with many presidents, they always end up being unable. They can't kill people in South Lebanon without us. We are the enablers of all of that. So the question comes back once again to Donald Trump. Are you president of the United States or what? President Trump, what is in the interest of the American people? Well, if he asks that and answers it honestly, we have an interest in peace. Do we want to be the pariah in the world? Because when you travel around the world these days, whether it's in Europe or you go to Canada or even down into Latin America or across Asia and Africa, who is held responsible for what's happened in the Persian Gulf? Iran? No, we are. So if you're the president of the United States, you want to correct that mistake as quickly as possible and end this tragedy. So where's the debate? That's number one. Number two, he needs to think about what's going on at home in the United States. The potential here for unrest, given what the things that I cited to you in the economy, where things are headed, is very serious. You know, Lenin said, and it's probably hyperbolic, but he said it nonetheless, every society is 3 meals away from a revolution. Well, he wasn't completely wrong. We have not yet felt the effects of what's been happening in the Persian Gulf on the scale that we will. In other words, there's a lag time between what happens now and the real effects in several months. And my
Can he
point,
turn things around? Can he, if he ends this quickly, could he turn things around before it's too late still?
it's going to be tough. It's going to be very hard. I think he's going to have a tough time doing it. But at this point, it's no longer about him. It's about the American people. It's a
Hey, I'm going to stop it right there. I'm going to stop it right there because we need to go to this report that came out 27 minutes ago from CBS. Major escalation in Iran war after deadly attack on Kuwait airport following U.S. strikes. Okay, now with that all being said, the U.S. is already looking real shady to everyone else in the world. There have been U.S. citizens who have traveled abroad, and they say that they were shunned when the people found out that they were from the U.S. And this is all thanks to Trump. And here's the thing, too. Trump initially said, well, he was, making a myriad of excuses as to why he wanted to go to war with Iran. But one of the things he said was because they were protesting because of their economy. What's he think's going to start happening here? He doesn't think that people are going to start protesting because of the economy, because it's in the tank and it's not going to get any better anytime soon. And even when the war ends, we're still going to be experiencing the effects of it, okay, down the line, because now he's gone too far to turn back. He's gone too far to turn back, okay? Christopher said we are in the start of World War III. I mean, it certainly seems that way, beloved. Okay, now let's go to this report. I hope you all can hear those landscapers out there with all that noise. Okay, here we go. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Thank you in advance.
We're seeing escalating violence in the Middle East. Kuwait has suspended commercial flights after an Iranian drone attack hit the country's airport, injuring multiple people and killing at least one person there. Video shows debris burning in a parking lot in Kuwait after the army said it was responding to missile and drone threats. Yesterday, Iran and the U.S. traded multiple attacks. The U.S. military says it launched strikes on an Iranian military facility in retaliation for Iranian missiles fired at Kuwait and Bahrain. Military officials say the strike in Bahrain failed. Tehran says it launched its attack in response to the U.S. striking this oil tanker. The U.S. claims the vessel was trying to breach its blockade. CBS News national security contributor Sam Vinograd joins us for more on this development. Good morning, Sam. Just walk us through these attacks that we've seen in the last 24 hours. Clearly, the ceasefire is not in effect, and the talks that we were looking at this past weekend have failed.
Well, Errol, I actually disagree a bit. The ceasefire still remains in effect in principle. Having been involved, for better or for worse, in various negotiations, there are often incidents that violate the ceasefire, but both parties have an interest in maintaining it, so it does remain in effect. At this point, what's unclear is whether mediators behind the scenes can negotiate any kind of off-ramp so that this violence doesn't escalate further. The United States has very carefully messaged that its attacks against Iran and this attack against the oil tanker have been really in self-defense. There were strikes by the United States against Iranian territory over the past few days. Again, CENTCOM has very carefully messaged that those were defensive. And Iran has messaged that these attacks against neighbors, Bahrain, Kuwait, and others, have been in response. So we are certainly in a tit-for-tat escalatory cycle, while both parties, for the time being, are indicating that the ceasefire is still in effect.
Fascinating to me that you still feel that the framework of the ceasefire is in effect despite these clashes. I know that yesterday lawmakers pressed Secretary of State Marco Rubio on specifically what the administration is willing to offer Tehran in exchange for an agreement to end this war. Let's just listen to what he said.
Iran is being sanctioned because they enrich uranium. Iran is being sanctioned because they've highly enriched uranium. Iran is being sanctioned because of their nuclear activities. If they agree to give up those things, there will be sanctions relief associated with their commitment and compliance
you will not give
with those
sanctions
agreements.
relief just in exchange for reopening the strait.
No, that's not been discussed. That's not been offered.
What is your take on this, Sam? Because anything that resembles the JCPOA, the previous U.S.-Iran agreement, would be something this administration would bristle at, considering they ripped it up. So what's your take?
One would think, but we'll see how the negotiations go. I think that the ceasefire will remain in effect for as long as the United States judges that Iran is actually committed to some sort of diplomatic negotiation. With respect to what Marco Rubio said yesterday, we have to remember that under the Iran nuclear deal in 2015, there was not immediate sanctions relief. Sanctions relief was given once Iran took verifiable steps to start to dismantle its nuclear program. So Rubio is really saying that there would not be a cash flow for Iran before there were certain steps taken. What we don't know, Errol, is what incentive is being given to Iran so that they actually agree to open the strait, so that they actually have some sort of confidence that Trump isn't just going to engage in negotiations as a ruse to get Iran to open the strait and then start bombing again. So I do think there will be some kind of incentive given to Iran just to get them to meaningfully get to the negotiating table and to ultimately sign some sort of interim agreement and ultimately, hopefully, a more comprehensive framework.
We'll keep our eyes peeled for that. Sam Vinograd joining us from Bethesda this morning. Thank you, Sam.
Thank you.
All right. With that all being said, D Major says, well, both sides, I think, don't want for this to go too far, which leads me to believe that it's not real is the common denominator here. Yes, absolutely. They are the common denominator. They're the ones keeping up all of the BS. Okay? They are absolutely the ones keeping up all of this BS. Now, because they don't want peace. You see, in order for BB to stay out of prison, he needs the war to keep brewing. Okay, he needs to constantly be attacking someone. That's why he's saying that Turkey and Egypt are next. But I don't think he's going to make it that long. And here's why. Likes up, everyone. Please like and share. Thank you in advance. Okay, so Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's coalition government is on the brink of collapse, with the Knesset overwhelmingly passing a preliminary bill to dissolve parliament and trigger early elections. Netanyahu is actively scrambling to negotiate a compromise to save his coalition and prevent snap elections. Okay, so it's not going the way he wants it to go. Okay, these people are trying to take him down. All right. And I hope that they, in fact, do. And here's the thing. It's a very good likelihood that he's going to go down because the bill to dissolve the Knesset approved in it was approved in the first reading in the plenum session. Now, mind you, the vote was 106-0. Okay, 106-0 in the first plenum. Now, if it passes the second and third, it's going to be a wrap for him. Okay, please pay attention. So if it's not really Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu loses power, he's expected to face his ongoing corruption trial without the protection of office. Intensive public inquiries into the security and governmental failures surrounding the October 7th attacks, and a highly competitive political landscape where opposition parties will vie to replace him. Okay, please pay attention. Now, there was some Isnat Rayleigh who was already saying that he wanted to take Netanyahu's place. I can't remember his name, but here's the thing. All of the protections from his trial will be gone. Okay, so he's just going to be looked at as a regular civilian. Okay, and like I said, the vote was 106-1 for the first plenum. Now, mind you, the plenum is the formal gathering, okay, where 120 members of the Knesset convene together in the plenum hall to conduct official state business. And the Knesset, basically, that's the equivalent of the U.S. Congress. Okay, so that's what's going on. He's about to be up out of here, I hope. Okay, because this could absolutely collapse the government and force early elections, like they said. And it's going to effectively end his nefarious reign of terror. Okay? So, like I said, if they pass the second and third plenum, then it's a wrap for Netanyahu. They want him up out of there. And he will no longer be able to keep doing all of this damage just so he can avoid that trial that's currently postponed. Buckhorse DC says, do y'all remember the movie They Live? They're live aliens. I've never seen that. I've heard people talk about it. I want to say it was Ashgon that put that in the chat the other day, I want to say, but I have not seen it. I'll have to check it out. Thank you, beloved, for your contribution to the channel. I appreciate you. Peace, love, and blessings. Okay. Now, with that all being said, they say that the IRGC claims that 37 soldiers died instantly. Okay. They say that official reports regarding U.S. casualties during recent military operations in the region have placed the confirmed number of fatalities at significantly lower figures. You know, the U.S. just keeps lying. Okay, they just keep lying. Now, if they say that they took out 37 soldiers instantly, I believe them. Okay, because for one, you know, just to try to quell some of Trump's lies, they've started showing proof. Let's go to it, because the IRGC actually posted footage of how they were decimating those U.S. bases. Because they know Trump will come out and lie. Him and Cake's breath will act like nothing ever happened. The ship caught fire accidentally. It was not struck, and all of the BS. Here's the footage.
New visuals released by Iran's Revolutionary Guards are sending shockwaves across the Middle East. The Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps, or IRGC, has published dramatic footage that it says shows missiles and drones being launched toward U.S. military bases in Kuwait and Bahrain. The footage was released alongside claims that Iran carried out retaliatory strikes against the headquarters of the U.S. Fifth Fleet in Bahrain and other American military targets across the Gulf. But while Tehran says it launched a powerful response to alleged U.S. aggression, Washington insists every missile was intercepted, destroyed, or failed before reaching its target. So what exactly do the newly released videos show, and what really unfolded during a night that pushed the Gulf closer to a wider military confrontation? The latest escalation began when Iran's Revolutionary Guards released new footage purportedly showing missile batteries firing and drones launching toward what Tehran described as American military positions in Kuwait and Bahrain. The videos quickly spread across regional media and social media platforms, becoming the latest chapter in an increasingly dangerous information and military battle between Tehran and Washington. According to the IRGC, the footage documents retaliatory operations launched after what Iran describes as American attacks on Iranian assets near the Strait of Hormuz. Iran claims an oil tanker suffered damage after being struck by a U.S. projectile near the strategically vital waterway. The Revolutionary Guards also allege that American forces targeted infrastructure linked to Iranian military communications near Keshm Island. Tehran says those incidents crossed a red line, and according to the IRGC, the newly released footage captures the military response that followed. Iranian officials say missile and drone units were ordered into action, targeting facilities associated with American military operations in the Gulf region. The Revolutionary Guards specifically claimed that targets included the headquarters of the U.S. Fifth Fleet in Bahrain, as well as other American military installations.
Moment ago, the Public Relations Department of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps announced in a statement that late last night the invading American military struck an Iranian oil tanker near the Strait of Hormuz with an aerial projectile, causing damage to the tanker's engine room. In response to this aggression and violation of the Strait of Hormuz regulations, the American Zionist enemy vessel named Panaya was targeted by missiles from the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps' Navy. The statement from the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps says the American enemy, in a renewed act of aggression, targeted a Revolutionary Guard telecommunications tower south of Keshm Island with aerial projectiles. In response to this aggression, the air and helicopter base located in one of the regional countries, as well as the center of the United States Fifth Fleet, were targeted by missile and drone attacks from the aerospace force of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. The Islamic Revolution
Good. They said that the IRGC said this must serve as a caution, basically saying disrupting what's going on at the Strait of Hormuz will have heavy consequences. But I'm sitting up here laughing because that accent, first of all, why? That was an AI generated voice. So why would they choose that accent for one? And for two, why did it sound so boring? They couldn't make it more interesting and exciting for us to listen to. I mean, I absolutely cannot. Okay, now that being said, okay, there's just two more clips I want to show about this, and then I want to talk about this river. Okay, maybe there's three clips, but hold on. So let's talk about how they say it's not real, can't own Lebanon. Rubio shuts down SATANyahu's dream seizure. Okay, peace with Hezbollah. Let's get into it. That voice was sending me. D Major said pretty soon we'll have black AI voices. They already do. What are you talking about? I literally played one day. I was shocked to hear it.
The public facade of an unbreakable, absolute alliance between the United States and Israel has just been completely shattered on Capitol Hill. In a stunning public pivot that has sent shockwaves through the Israeli war cabinet, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio delivered a brutal, cold-blooded snub to Jerusalem while testifying before lawmakers in Congress on Tuesday. With Israeli forces actively enforcing a hardline military buffer zone in southern Lebanon, Rubio stripped away Washington's diplomatic cover for the operation. He flatly stated that Israel has absolutely no territorial claims in Lebanon and declared that the two nations could sign a definitive peace treaty by tomorrow morning, effectively framing Israel's current military expansion as entirely unnecessary if it weren't for the shadow of Tehran. Rubio went on a rhetorical rampage, entirely decoupling the sovereign nation of Lebanon from the militant group paralyzing its politics, laying the entire blame for the current regional bloodshed squarely at the feet of Iran.
Stop watching this ad. Go to Wix and grab your domain name before someone...
Yes, and just very quickly, you want to clarify, use this opportunity. The president had a tweet about speaking with Hezbollah yesterday. Do you want to clarify for people what happened and anything that you'd like?
Well, we received communications via the Lebanese government and the speaker over there on behalf of Hezbollah as early as Sunday. about that they would restrain from attacking Israeli territory if Israel did not take new strikes in Beirut. And so it came from Hezbollah, but through Lebanese authorities.
I think that clarification is important. Thank you.
It's one of the interesting things that's happening. And I know Senator Shaheen has a great interest in Lebanon. It's one of the most ironic situations in the world. The Lebanese government and the Israeli government could do a peace deal tomorrow. Israel has no territorial claims in Lebanon. And Hezbollah is in particular. In fact, Hezbollah has called for the overthrow of the current Lebanese government. The impediment in Lebanon is the fact that Hezbollah has embedded itself into that country and is the reason for all the suffering that's happening there right now and all the suffering that's historically happened. Entirely funded, entirely controlled by Iran. There is no Hezbollah without Iran. There is no Hezbollah without Iran. I mean, there might be a political movement with ideology, but they don't have a bunch of rockets. They don't have a bunch of weapons without Iran. They are a complete, total proxy of Iran, and that's the kind of activity that needs to be.
Rubio's public positioning is merely the clean diplomatic cover for an absolute volcanic explosion behind closed doors. Reports have suggested U.S. President Donald Trump engaged in a vicious, highly heated phone call with Benjamin Netanyahu. The conversation reportedly deteriorated into pure profanity, with several major outlets revealing that Trump explicitly shouted at Netanyahu over his reckless threats to launch heavy airstrikes and ground incursions into Beirut's southern suburbs.
Okay, Buckhurst, DC, beloved, says that's war. Thank you for your contribution to the channel and your insight to the topic, beloved. I appreciate you. Peace, love, and blessings. Okay, so now listen. Do you all hear how they keep saying after these strikes and missiles launched and drones and all of that, they keep saying that Washington says the drones and missiles were intercepted? Okay, before they could touch base. At the end of the day, the lies just continue. Okay. Ashkan says, I still can't remember a single time Trump has laughed. I've seen him laugh a couple of times, usually at his own jokes, beloved. Okay, usually at his own jokes. Now, with that being said, this guy says, will SATANyahu have to back down? It's not real Push's deepest incursion into Lebanon in 20 years. Here's the thing. Trump doesn't know what to do with SATANyahu. And like I told you all, I think that SATANyahu has something on him clearly, but Trump, he doesn't know how to get out of this. Now, he's going to crack eventually, as we can see that he's already starting to break, because the conversation they had yesterday where he supposedly cursed out SATANyahu. Now, some people on TikTok were saying they don't believe, or I'm sorry, on Instagram, were saying they don't believe that Trump actually cursed out SATANyahu. I believe he absolutely did, because Trump is a malignant narcissist, and there's only so much that he's going to take before he snaps. He can't help himself. He's out of control, literally. Okay, and I want you all to keep in mind that no president has ever spoken out publicly or said anything disparaging against It's Not Real since John F. Kennedy. And y'all see what happened to him, right? Okay, please pay attention is all I'm saying. Now let's go to this next clip. Likes up, everyone, please. Like and share. Thank you in advance.
Wants to be seen as the most powerful, person in the world. And if you've got a tiny country with a 10 million person population that's refusing to take guidance from the US president, it's a problem for Donald Trump. And I think, as I said, I think at the end of the day, Netanyahu is going to have to give in, because Trump is more popular with Netanyahu's base than Netanyahu is himself. Donald Trump wants to be seen.
Yeah, Trump has a huge ego. That's why him and Elon Musk fell out that time. Okay, because Trump does not want anyone getting more credit or seeming more powerful than him. And the fact and notion that people are saying out loud that they think that he's being controlled by SATANyahu, he doesn't like it. Okay, so eventually he's going to snap and just go all in, and then we're going to see how See how it really goes down. But meanwhile, Yahoo has said that Iran is going to fall regardless. Okay, that's what he said yesterday. I'm not going to play the video because he's speaking in Hebrew, so you can't understand him anyway, quite frankly. But let's go to these videos of what people are saying about this entire nefarious administration online. Likes up, everyone, please. Like and share. Thank you in advance.
You can't make this shit up. The president got out of the car and shot himself. The president of the United States, who boasts about being the most healthiest man, boasts about his health report, talks about how other people are animals and disgusting, and got out of the car and shot himself while the cameras were rolling. While live cameras and cell phones was out, he went, you know what, I'm gonna just roll the footage. Take a look at this.
My goodness. Just nasty.
I have one question for the Trump administration. Where is the toilet paper boy? I've seen this man walk back from under that podium with the same goddamn shit he had on before he went in there, which means the man didn't even wipe his ass. So he did all that shitting behind and proceeded to get his nasty ass back in the car. This is ridiculous. This is unacceptable. This is embarrassing on a national front. I mean, when are we going to come to terms that this man is not well? What, does he have to pass away in the middle of a speech? Every news outlet needs to be covering this man's health. We need to see reports, because something tells me it's going to take this man dropping dead on live TV in order for people to believe that this man is not well.
Oh, poop. Poop, 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 poop.
I am so done. Buckhurst DC says, please get your app. I will support, I promise. Crazy ass self. Okay, I'm definitely gonna have to get it, beloved. And thank you. Thank you for that. And for your contribution to the channel. I appreciate you. Peace, love, and blessings. Okay, and so now with that being said, listen. When I heard that, I said, now is this AI? You know, is somebody trying to be funny? But I looked it up. Okay, in late May 2026, a rumor spread online that a video captured the moment U.S. President Donald Trump soiled his pants while staring at the White House columns. The footage showed Trump stepping out of a vehicle and standing outside the White House while staring and pointing at its pillars. Okay, some social media users claimed it was evidence of Trump pausing to soil his pants, with one post stating archived. Anyone who's raised or helped raise a toddler will be familiar with his footwork. Another post said, described Trump as incapacitated. Okay. And then listen. Here's what it says. It's absolutely true. It says, while the video is authentic and it shows no signs of digital manipulation or any indication that it was generated using artificial intelligence software. Okay, but it also at the same time didn't prove or show evidence that he soiled his pants. But we heard him do it. We literally heard him poop. Nasty R's. Okay, please sit down somewhere. This is all crazy. Look, this is all crazy. But let's continue.
Don't love the red, white, and blue. You just love the white, because that's what this is. You went to the voting booth and voted for a man who is an adjudicated rapist and a convicted felon because you couldn't stomach a black woman being in the goddamn White House. That's why we're here. Barack Obama was a bridge too far. That was the first domino, right? The black man was in the White House instead of out in the fields picking your cotton on the plantation, and you went traditional family values. White, 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 white. That's what scares you. Anybody that doesn't fit into your little bigoted, racist, misogynistic point of view, a straight white man, screw it. I can hear, at the voting booth. Oh, if Pete Buttigieg goes, I can't vote for Pete Buttigieg because that's a sin. Let's just say that you're right. Let's play the devil's advocate. Cool, great. But then you voted for a man who assaults women, who owes her $80 million, who's a convicted felon, who cheats on his wife, who looks at 15-year-olds naked, who defends child molesters and is very likely a child molester. So you're okay voting for that? But not Pete Buttigieg, huh? It's almost like it's not really about that, is it? You just couldn't vote for the black woman, the most qualified candidate in the history of our country. She's not on Epstein Island. She's not a convicted felon. She's not a rapist. She doesn't defend child molesters. She didn't cause...
So basically, the government has granted an emergency order for data centers to tie into the main electrical grid across most of the Midwest and the coasts. And they've also, in that emergency order, granted them to run diesel generators 24 hours a day. With us having a diesel shortage already, because we're not getting any fuel in from the war, that means that they are digging into the supply that is already dwindling. So yes, 8 to 12 weeks, if nothing else changes, we most likely run out of diesel. Or at least the oil is needed to create it.
Didn't I tell you all that it has been projected that we could possibly be out of gas in July? Okay, please pay attention.
There's more to this, but obviously I got to get back to work. My break's up, so I will see you guys soon. I would not freak out about this. I'd just start learning how to grow your own food, if anything. Kind of like we do. Problem is it's not fucking grown yet.
Okay, now, what he said is absolutely true. Okay, they say that the federal and state governments are issuing executive directives, emergency orders, and regulatory rules to manage, expedite, or restrict how data centers are integrated.
All right, we got a lot of stories to go through. One, Donald Trump's insurrection fund not going as planned. Two, we have Ivanka Trump making a mob of people very, very, very angry. And I'm wondering, what does she know that we don't? And three, Donald Trump may have made his stupidest, most dangerous decision yet in the administration. First, let's get to this one, which honestly, whenever it's bad news for Trump, sadly, that means it's good news for the American people, because Donald Trump's slush fund was axed by a judge. And wouldn't you know it? Donald Trump tacoed. No, I'm not surprised, because literally Republican Congresswoman Kat Cammack, she went on Fox News and attacked the president's slush fund. Here's this.
Well, as someone who served on the weaponization committee last Congress, I can tell you that the issue is very real and it is rampant. But I'm not sure that a $1 billion plus slush fund is the answer. I think if you really want to eliminate the weaponization that takes place within the federal government against American citizens and those that serve, you need to actually address the root cause. This is the problem that we have in Washington. It's the idea of throwing money at a problem and hoping it goes away. I think that money could be better spent in bringing down the cost of everything and making life more affordable for Americans, while simultaneously addressing the system that allowed for the weaponization against individuals here in this country. And certainly, I will say, as the wife of a first responder, absolutely under no circumstances would I ever support any payouts for anyone who ever assaulted law enforcement.
All right, what? Damn, that toad with blonde hair is actually telling the truth. I cannot believe that a Republican is going against Donald Trump in such a big way. I think that is probably the main reason why we are learning that after a federal judge said, hold on, a judge was like, wait a second, wait a second. So you're telling me you sued yourself and then you stopped the lawsuit with yourself and then you settled with yourself $1.776 billion? They're like, that feels a little fraudy to me. And so the judge was like, let's slow this down. Let's look into what's happening. And then Donald Trump, when met with so much pushback, and not obviously on the left, but on the right, as you're seeing, Donald Trump said, no, I don't think so. the Trump administration's plans to drop the Department of Justice's $1.8 billion anti-weaponization fund in the face of legal and political pushback to it happened yesterday. The fund was created as part of a settlement of President Trump's $10 billion lawsuit with himself. It's intended to compensate people who are purportedly victims of prosecutorial, say that 5 times, overreach by the DOJ under the Biden administration. In addition to the DOJ creating the fund, the settlement included an agreement that protected Trump and his family members from enforcement actions, including audits related to their tax filings made before the deal was announced. Well, all right, so this is pretty incredible. So the judge is basically like, you can't drop this lawsuit. You have to keep suing yourself. And by the way, that means the settlement is null and void. That's incredible. So that means that, I don't know what, imagine 10 days ago, you're Donald Trump Jr., you learn, wow, the IRS can never go after me. Wow. I wonder if he did anything fraudulent in the past 10 days.
We did. Dick Gregory. This man was a powerful writer, author, public speaker, entrepreneur, and civil rights activist. He passed away in 2017, but before he did, he published his final book, Defining Moments in Black History, Reading Between the Lies. He also lived long enough to see Donald Trump elected for the first time as president. Someone asked him about it, and his provocative response, he wrote it down in his final book. People have asked me what we do now that Trump is president. There's nothing to do. It's over. We're in decline now. The Romans, the Greeks, the Egyptians, all of those empires fell. It's our turn now. We didn't see what was happening, and now it's too late.
Okay, you all heard that? We didn't see what was happening, and now it's too late. Imagine if Dick Gregory knew that Trump was elected a second time. Okay? Absolutely nefarious. But it's racism and hating this country that is the reason why Trump, a whole convicted felon, 34 times over, accused of rape, accused of SA, accused of sexual harassment, accused of being a PDF file. Okay, can you imagine if any one of those things had been said about President Barack Obama? But let's continue. This man goes in about SATANyahu.
Israel is committing suicide because it is destroying any remnant of sympathy or empathy in the United States and all over the world. U.S. sympathy ran 60 to 70% for Israel, 15% for Palestine. Now they run 41% for Palestine, 36% for Israel. In other words, the American public is on the side of Palestine, and that's going to grow dramatically. What's going to happen, whether Mr. Dannon or his colleagues like it or not, the world is going into a profound economic crisis in the coming weeks and months, and this is Israel's choice. Israel set this off together with the United States. The world will pay a fearsome price for this delusion, and people will know where this came from. It's very, very sad. Very sad.
It absolutely is, okay? It is horrendous. And, we have a myriad of other problems going on all at the same time, simultaneously with the BS that Trump is causing us to go through. Okay? The Rio Grande is absolutely bone dry. Now, when I first saw this man standing in there and it was nothing but mud and dirt, I literally couldn't believe it. I said, is this serious? But these data centers, okay, these data centers are something else. Okay, let's get into it. This video or these videos address different issues that are going on in the U.S. right now.
You guys see this shit? This county treasurer in Arizona steals nearly $40 million in public funds. She renovates her house, buys trucks, funds her cattle operation, and she does this for 10 fucking years, all while her community schools suffer. This is just so bad. I mean, you want to talk about corruption? Like,
real corruption? Let me introduce you to Elizabeth Gutfar, right? She's a 63-year-old woman who just got sentenced to 10 years in prison for embezzling $38.7 million from Santa Cruz County, Arizona. This lady was the county treasurer, and so her job duties are to protect public funds. What did she do instead? Well, she created fake companies. She made over 180 wire transfers and bypassed the approval process like it was a fucking suggestion. And then she used the money not only to buy real estate, she bought and paid for more than 20 vehicles, right? Helping out friends and family, renovating her ranch, and she bankrolled her cattle business all off of public funds that she stole. Sounds like a nice lady, huh? Let that sink in. $38.7 million in taxpayer dollars, gone. And what did the county lose? Essential services, schools, fire departments, public infrastructure. All of it was gutted so this woman could play ranch queen on stolen cash. And here's the worst part. They've only been able to recover $5 million of the $38.7 million. Let me just say that again. The county is still missing over $30 million. Money that could have funded fire trucks, the police force, classrooms, teachers, EMTs. But fuck all that. She wanted to buy her friends and family cars like she was fucking Oprah. She wanted to renovate and remodel her house. She wanted to put her family on the payroll. And for all that, all she got was 10 years. Meanwhile, the IRS will hunt you down if you don't report a $600 deposit in your bank account, but she steals $38 million and still gets a soft landing. Where's the justice in that? The county official said they would have preferred the maximum sentence to reflect the severity of the crime. Like, yeah, no shit. She didn't just steal from the government. She stole from families, from kids, from firefighters and teachers who were out there doing real work while she was out there buying trucks and polishing her fucking ranch gate. This is what happens when nobody watches the money. This is why I don't trust anyone in the government. Because if a local treasurer can quietly steal nearly $40 million over a decade, how many more are doing it right now? Not just in Santa Cruz County, everywhere. We don't need more taxes. We need more accountability because the system isn't broken by accident. It's being bled dry from the inside out.
That was her right there.
I live on a farm here in West Kentucky, and we've got some cats that live outside, and they're family pets. We take good care of them, but they mainly take care of the rodents and things that get into the outbuildings. And we noticed the other day that one of these cats came up real sick, and he was just sitting and staring at the wall like he didn't know he was in this world. He couldn't hardly stand up. He was in bad shape. And within 48 hours, this cat was dead. And no less than 24 hours after this cat was gone, we started noticing all of these reports flooding social media about this tick-borne illness that's killing cats all across Kentucky.
Now, I want you all to pay attention to what he's saying about these nefarious ticks. Because if you ask me, this all goes back to Bill Gates of hell. Because it has been reported that the Gates Foundation provides grants to Oxitec, which is a biotech firm researching genetically engineered ticks to protect livestock in tropical and developing nations. Now, these modified ticks are entirely species specific to cattle and do not bite humans, so they say. The scientific and factual consensus is that this research is not connected to the human red meat allergy known as alpha-gal syndrome or the surge in tick bites in the United States. Please miss us with it. Please miss us with it. So you mean to tell us that we've never heard of a tick disease that causes a human person to have some sick allergy to red meats? Now, I don't eat red meat anyway, haven't in years, but I'm just saying, at the end of the day, we've never had this alpha-gal syndrome and a surge of tick bites in the United States. Who in here has ever been bitten by a tick? Put a 1 in the chat. Put a 1 in the chat if you have ever been bitten by a tick. Because in order to get bitten by a tick, years prior, one would usually have to be out in the woods somewhere, right? So I find this all very interesting, but they want us to think that Bill Gates, the manufactured GMO ticks that he's having come up with, that this doesn't have anything to do with it. Okay, Please pay attention to how they try to frame it as though it's something beneficial, that it's supposed to protect the livestock. It's species specific. Oh, I'll bet it is species specific. Okay, I'll bet it absolutely is. But let's continue, because what he says next is absolutely nefarious.
And then within 24 hours of that, we saw where the CDC was sounding the alarm because of the rapid increase in emergency room visits from people who had been bitten by ticks. Now, I know there's a lot of people talking about how this is bobcat fever and all of this, but I'm going to tell you right now, the Lord's blessed me with 41 years on this earth. And I've never seen anything.
Diana says, don't forget depopulation. Honey, that's the whole point of it. That is the whole point of it, beloved. We've been talking about that since 2020, since the venom came out. But now here's the thing. So many of you seem to have, a few of you seem to have been bitten by ticks. I've never been bitten by one ever. Okay, ever. But with that all being said, an uprising in it, I find that very interesting. Okay, Danielle says, Queen, I watched a video last month of some farmers in different parts of the country finding a random box of ticks showing up on their farms. Beloved, that's exactly what he's about to say. That's exactly what he says. Boxes of ticks. Now, I want you all to think about that. And beloved, thank you for your insight into the topic and your contribution to the channel. I appreciate you. Peace, love, and blessings. Now, think about that. How in the world would boxes of ticks end up on your farm? Okay, it sounds reminiscent of when the guns, the boxes and crates of guns ended up in Chicago. All right? So that the black folk could kill themselves. All right, now this is all nefarious, and they're talking about Bill Gates has nothing to do with it. Also, I want you to pay attention, because Bill Gates has the motive, the method, and the means. And in my opinion, this is his MO, his modus operandi, because here's why. Bill Gates is working with a company that creates these GMO ticks, okay? Second of all, he also has lab-grown meat. So what better way to get people to buy and purchase his disgusting lab-grown meat than to make you have an allergy to real meat? You all see how this is going? Okay, so they can miss me with it when they say that Bill Gates has nothing to do with this. I beg to differ.
Quite like this, the suffering that this little cat went through, and in 48 hours, he went from being perfectly normal, perfectly healthy, to dead. Now, when you look at what's happening with these tick-borne illnesses, we've already seen where Pfizer is now working on a Lyme disease vaccine, and that came out right before all of this tick stuff started happening. And then I started seeing more posts about how Ohio's being invaded with ticks. And I've seen all of these strange reports talking about how farmers are finding these boxes of ticks that have been dropped on their farms. But I want you to think about this alpha-gal syndrome that everybody's all of a sudden getting. It's where a tick bites you, and then all of a sudden you're allergic to red meat. And I mean allergic. If you eat it, your throat will swell up and you'll die if you don't get to the emergency room.
Your throat will swell up and you will die? Do you all hear this? This is absolutely nefarious. Red White Entertainment said, I wouldn't trust lab-grown meat. And who should, beloved? Who should? Absolutely sounds nefarious.
When in your life have you ever heard of anything like this happening to an animal from a tick bite, or to people from a tick bite? We know that we've got politicians and Bill Gates saying that people need to stop the consumption of red meat because cows are causing global warming and all of this nonsense. And we see where the Gates Foundation just gave $7.6 million to this company to research and genetically modify.
I need you to watch this video right now. This person is standing in the Rio Grande River in New Mexico, and it is bone dry.
Folks, I'm currently standing in the Rio Grande River right now. This is what it looks like right here, all dirt. All dirt. You're looking at an environmental catastrophe, what this is. The new Meta data center in Los Lunas, New Mexico, takes 75 million gallons per year to cool down the data center. And this is what we're left with.
Dry. All of it. Unbelievable. Better write your congressman because these politicians are as corrupt as they come.
This is one of the longest rivers in North America, and right now it looks like a parking lot. The Rio Grande was already in trouble before any of this. Scientists are even calling it, they're not even calling it a drought anymore. They're calling it aridification, meaning this isn't temporary. The Southwest is drying out and it's not coming back. There are real people in New Mexico whose land, whose livelihood, whose water supply is disappearing. And Mark Zuckerberg is out here getting a tax break for it. Jump in the comments. I want to know from you, should there be a federal cap on how much water a private tech company can pull from a drought-stricken region? Because if you live around those parts, I want to hear from you. Let's talk about it.
This is what it sounds like to live right next to an AI data center. Take a listen. Data centers are also sucking up so much water that parts of the Rio Grande are now bone dry. No more water. And if you're lucky enough to still have water, it's extremely toxic and polluted.
This is where I fill up water for storage. Those are the things we have to fill up to flush the toilets.
So you can see the sediment from the data center. Wow, and that's just from the water coming out of your faucet.
Yeah.
And if you so dare oppose any of this, then you must be a bot or a paid CCP spy, according to Representative Anna Paulina Luna. In fact, according to new reporting from Ken Klippenstein, there is now a new intelligence agency that has been created specifically to track AI or anti-AI data center critics. And protesting the construction of new AI data centers could actually land you on the domestic terror watch list. I guess I'm a terrorist.
Grande River is one of Albuquerque's most beautiful features, but right now it's looking more like a desert than a river. Images like these ones are pretty surprising to people who live here and also people who just came to pay a visit too.
Yeah, we know the river can run low, but it hasn't been this dry in 3 years. So Morgan Stevens actually took a walk in the riverbed to see what's behind the drop and what it could mean for all of us.
Right. I'm at the Rio Grande River here in Albuquerque near Tingley Beach. And as you can see, it is bone dry. And farmers who depend on this water will soon be feeling those effects.
The river, as it stands now, is only a third of what farmers need to irrigate their crops.
Right now, there's about 240 cubic feet per second coming into the Middle Rio Grande below Cochiti. And to meet the needs of Middle Valley farmers and their crops this time of year, we would need more like 750 cubic feet per second. So the gap between what's needed and what's available is quite large.
It's not good for tourism either. One Albuquerque resident says they brought visitors to see the world-renowned Rio Grande River, only to find it looking like this.
We often come down here, my husband and my toddler and I. We have out-of-town guests, so we wanted to show off the Bosque. It's one of our favorite places, and lo and behold, there's no water. This was a big surprise for us.
This is the third time in 4 years the river runs dry, something that was unheard of for decades before 2022. But this year seems to be the earliest we've seen it happen in recent memory. For anyone who drives or walks by, it's a grim sign of climate change in New Mexico. Data from the EPA shows the snowpack that feeds the Rio Grande has been steadily dropping since the 1950s.
And to give you a little bit of perspective, the last time the river was this dry was back in September of 2023, when they recorded it only at 1.3 feet high. Back to you.
We're almost there.
Now, that's really a darn shame. And this has to be due to those data centers. Now, that video was from 10 months ago. Okay. And here's another one with a new report from like almost 2 weeks ago, from like 12 days ago. And here's the thing. You absolutely can be arrested for protesting against data centers. Individuals are being arrested for speaking out against data centers. While most activism remains peaceful, tensions during public meetings and online have led to multiple arrests, as well as citations for disorderly conduct or trespassing. and federal warnings about anti-tech extremism. Isn't that something? So they're just making up bullshit at this point. Anti-tech extremism, so you can't talk about it? Get the F out of here. I'm going to talk about it. Come and lock me up. Now, here's the thing. In Claymore, Oklahoma, February of 2026, a community activist was arrested for trespassing and escorted out in handcuffs after exceeding his allotted speaking time during a public comment period regarding a proposed AI data center. Make it all make sense. In Porter, Washington, Wisconsin, December 2025, 3 people were arrested and cited for disorderly conduct after speaking out against a planned $15 billion data center. The arrest occurred when one speaker continued past her time limit and led a chant, prompting the council to clear the room. Imperial County, California, 2026, a local farmer was arrested and jailed for trespassing during a board of supervisors meeting when he tried to hand paperwork to counselors after going over his speaking time. Dixon, Illinois, May of 2026, a man organizing opposition to a local data center was criminally arrested after local law enforcement accused him of making threats against a local official connected to the project. Do you all hear this? This is absolutely egregious. Okay, this is absolutely egregious. The First Amendment is dead. And if the First Amendment's dead, guess what? The Second Amendment's coming next because they won't want people to get any ideas about starting a revolution. Okay, I want y'all to pay attention. Now let's go to this next news report. Lights up, everyone, please like and share. Thank you in advance. Going to tell us what we can and can't say, and then if you say certain things, you're getting arrested. That aren't even threats, mind you, but just speaking out about certain things, make it all make sense. This is absolutely crazy.
On this river for over 20 years, and I've never seen a year like this. And I think you'd have to trace records back.
He's talking about the historically dry year we are seeing for the Rio Grande. And officials with our middle Rio Grande Conservancy District say they usually don't even start to talk about the drought this early in the year.
And the water manager says it's so bad the water that they do have isn't even reaching Elephant Butte. Our Alika Medina is joining us live now from the Rio Grande tonight. So Alika, we just reported on that fire that's burning in the Bosque, which we believe is close to where you are right now. So before we get to your story, I just want to ask you, are you seeing anything there? Are you smelling any smoke?
Well, Zach, Tessa, as of right now, we haven't seen any smoke, no flames. You can't really smell anything. We're not seeing anything into the distance. We did hear some sirens earlier, just a couple, I want to say about 15 minutes ago, we heard sirens going off, kind of getting closer to us. But as of right now, we haven't seen anything. I will say there is one concern aside from this fire, and that is this river over here. It is, as you can see, it's just a trickle of water. The Middle Rio Grande Conservancy District says this river is the driest they've seen it in decades. And despite their concerns, they have high hopes this year's monsoon season will make a difference later this year.
Very sad, as I was saying before. It's very sad. We're not getting the rainfall. We're not getting the snow melt. We're not getting the snows in the winter.
The Rio Grande used to be where Gretchen Newman says she would spend most of her time in the spring.
We usually canoe it every year 2 or 3 times, and just didn't get to it this year. And I don't know that you can do it now. It might be canoeable, but you'd be walking it a bit.
And that's because the Rio Grande is running dry.
Unfortunately, what's going on in the Rio Grande is not something we even typically begin talking about till maybe end of June into the middle of July. We didn't have a spring runoff. Typically, spring runoff would normally be continuing to go on, maybe even reaching its peak.
CEO of the Middle Rio Grande Conservancy District, Jason Kasuga, says they only have enough water to meet the needs of the 6 Middle Rio Grande pueblos.
Agriculture has been a huge part of our community in New Mexico, whether it's on the Rio Grande or on other basins. And so first and foremost, our ag community is going to suffer.
Kasuga says in years past, they've been able to store water, but with the little snowfall and rain this year, there was nothing to store. But Kasuga says soon you'll see water flowing down the Rio Grande. But that flow comes from the federal government for one specific reason.
The Rio Grande is home to some endangered species, one of those being the Rio Grande silvery minnow. And so the federal government was taking an action to be able to, I think, maximize the opportunity for there to be a minnow spawn and then collect minnow eggs. And but that was a short-term action with a very small pot of water. That is going to come into the system and move its way very quickly before the drying starts.
Now, the drought isn't limited to the Rio Grande. Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham issued an executive order yesterday. She's asking the state to implement a ban on fireworks and implement water conservation measures. She says that's because of the severe fires and dry conditions. Reporting from the Rio Grande, Alika Medina, KOB4.
Alika.
In other news, Georgia residents are going to be happy to hear that.
Okay, so this is all absolutely nefarious, okay? This is crazy. This is absolutely crazy. These data centers are a huge problem. And these devils don't care, because if they take all of us out, well, they'll just use AI. Okay, they'll just have their robots doing the labor. Please pay attention. That's the move anyway, if you ask me. Now, with that all being said, let's go to this video of this man. He was going in so hard on Trump, I had to bleep out some of what he said when he talked about Trump's mushroom D, when he talked about Trump R-wording kids and stuff like that. I had to bleep that out. But anyway, let's get into it, and then we're out of here.
I'm going to send a message straight to Donald Trump, straight to this dirty diaper pedophile in hospice with his little burgundy cankles and his little titties and a little pussy on his neck. I want to send a message straight to you, you morbidly obese, dying child. You said the other night that Alex Preddy's stock was down. Motherfucker, his stock went up with me. You fat, nasty, dirty diaper bitch. It went up with me, you nasty little bitch. You soft-handed, silver spoon, Manhattan pussy. You're a pussy. Donald Trump's a pussy like every pussy that worships him. Donald Trump's never held a fucking tool other than his tiny little mushroom. The hardest thing you've done is child, you fucking... And I don't know why you're so fucking baffled about losing. You've been losing your whole goddamn life, you stupid motherfucker. You'd have nothing. You'd be sleeping on a fucking bench if you didn't have rich parents. You're an imbecile. You're a dumb motherfucker. That's why you won't let anybody see your school records, because you're fucking stupid and you know it. You bankrupted casinos, you pathetic bitch. Trump steaks, Trump water, Trump wine, Trump vodka, Trump airlines, Trump mortgage, Trump shuttle, Trump transportation, Trump university, sued, shut down. Trump charity, sued, shut down for stealing from children with cancer. You stupid, fat, dying pedophile bitch. Fuck you. You're a loser, bitch. And you lost the 2020 election. Your own head of election security said you lost. Then you hired two firms. They also said you lost. Your attorney general said you lost. Your VP said you lost. Your daughter said you lost. You filed 63 court cases. They all said you lost. Fox News was sued for lying about it and set it out of court because they know you lost. Everybody knows you lost. You fat, cankled, dying pedophile bitch. Kill yourself.
Ooh, honey, when I tell you he went in on a whole profanity-laden rant. I mean, did he let him have it, or did he let him have it? Now, that, beloveds, was hilarious. Okay? Gregory said he ain't playing. Okay? He was so serious, honey. Like my son says, my oldest son, he was beyond mad. Okay? I am so through. So listen, beloveds, I'm going to conclude the broadcast, but stay tuned because I will be back. Okay, I'll be back at 4 o'clock, no later than 4:15. Okay, because we have to talk about the response to the Rick Chow verdict. People are very upset about it. Okay, there were some people standing outside of what looked like the spot where his gas station is. Okay, protesting or whatever. And then we also have to talk about Carmelo Anthony. Now, yesterday they say the judge shut down the entire courthouse. Okay, so we're going to be talking about both of those things. And also, I have an update on Chud the Builder. Okay, it's not looking good for him. Thank God. Okay, so anyway, with that all being said, listen, I love you all to life. I hope you all enjoyed the show. All right, so each one teach one. That's how we grow and thrive. Do something productive, constructive, but never destructive. And always remember, beloveds, to keep the Most High first in your lives. Until next time, peace.
Hit him with that flavor.
Gold all in my skin, God all in my blood. Kings all in my circle, you touch one of mine and you're done. They show no love for the queen, why you hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans? I got dreams like King Luther, shed blood like Kunta. You ain't helping my people, I ain't got nothing to say to ya. I want all the smoke like hookah. Talking reparations, America won't be great until they give us compensation. I'm like, I'm the hottest right now. See a bunch of lames out here trying to jock on my style. They be doing too much. I'm the queen, it's too easy. It's like they all at Popeyes, how they be talking so greasy. I just sit back and laugh while these haters get madder. So nefarious how they don't want my pockets with cheddar. I tell them they can do better. These snakes in the grass can leave a bite on your ass, cause y'all be trusting too fast. I got my foot on the gas, other one on they necks. Dropping receipts on haters, you better show some respect. I'm never facing regrets, we only facing the threats. Running through every challenge like a relay, break no sweat. It's a cold game, so I got that blanket with me. Now that my people awaken, ain't no going to sleep. I do not play by my piece, this time I'm playing for keeps. You talking slick, but when I see you like them ends, we gon' meet. And I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood. Kings all in my circle, you touch one of mine and you done. They show no love for the queen, why they hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans and I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood. Kings all in my circle, you touch one of mine and you done. They show no love for the queen, why they hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans and I got